Hello, everybody, and welcome to At the Book, live today from, Devin, Jackson's in Harris. Spencer and I are in Lafayette. I'm actually in the parking lot of the Agent Home. I'm set to head out to the Division I basketball championships semifinals in just a little bit. I am Jim Derry, along with the aforementioned Devin Jackson, Spencer Urquhart, and Zach Ewing is out in Europe, so he will be off for the next few weeks. I'm well relaxed after a Mardi Gras vacation. I guess I'm kind of relaxed. What about you guys? How y'all doing today?
I'm doing pretty good. Just ready to get into this talk here today. And we've got a lot of basketball. We're officially into March. So we're gonna have a lot of March Madness talk. NBA's heating up. But yeah, just ready to get into it here post Mardi Gras.
Devin, how's the book going?
Pretty good. Pretty busy, as you know, obviously March is here, and March Madness is right around the corner too. So definitely a little busy here, and excited to have a great month of sports action.
We apologize for being a little bit late today. We had some technical difficulties. See what happens when Zach goes to Europe? Everything falls apart. We're on European time, so I guess that means we should have done the show like 8 hours ago. I have no idea, but whatever. We're live, and we're going to present to you, amongst all the things we're going to talk about today, of course, as a reminder that our odds partner here at bet.nolo.com is Caesar Sportsbook. And as always, Caesars has a great reward for you. If you deposit, if you bet $20, you get a $300 bonus. You see the code there on the screen. That is ready for you at any time at Caesar Sportsbook. Go to bet.nolo.com. You can get this mobile offer, and you can get hooked up with Caesar Sportsbook right away. Speaking of right away, we're going to get right into our topic of the day. And I think it has to be, we're going to talk about the Pelicans in a little bit because they are on the upswing. LSU, men's basketball, not so much. I wouldn't call them on the bubble, Devin, but you got to worry a little bit after last night. They held the lead for the entire second half, but yet we're not able to hold on. We see them, they lose 77-76. 2 free throws at the end of the game with 10 seconds to go by Arkansas. LSU comes down. Xavier Pinson's got a chance to tie it up. Can't get the layup.
Yeah, tough loss for LSU. They had the game in hand, and they had a triple team trap there towards the end of the game. If they don't foul there, it's a good chance he either throws it away or they force him to take into a bad shot, and they have a shot to win that game. So tough break for LSU. It's really, the season has been kind of a 2 different seasons for LSU. They start really strong, like a potential SEC contender early in the season, but injuries have kind of marred their season. Inconsistent play, especially on the offensive side of the ball, really hurt them down the stretch, and it reared its ugly head again for LSU on last night.
And Spencer, really no excuses. I mean, Devin talks about the injuries, and yes, they've gone through a host of injury problems, but now they're pretty much back at full strength. Tyree Eason fouls out late in the game, and man, what a difference he could have made, the team's leading scorer. They can't find a way to get things done, and you cannot blow a 7-point lead in the SEC when you got a chance to steal a road win against a team like Arkansas that probably would have upped their seeding position. They're probably like 7 or so now. They could have been as high as 5 if they win that game, finish out strong, and then go and have a nice show in the SEC tournament.
Right. Yeah, definitely not the kind of momentum you want to go on, right? You want to build momentum, positive momentum heading into the tournament. You don't want to be coming off a gruesome loss like that. 1-point losses are always the worst to kind of bounce back from. And especially considering they were winning. It's not ideal. They got talent. They play hard, but they just I don't know. They just can't seem to get it done in those big moments. So we'll see. That anything can happen in March, but as of now, I'm fading LSU.
And Devin, you look at the rest of this list, and to me, what pops out, the two of them really pop out at me. Texas A&M with the big upset last night. Not only did they were 10-point underdogs, they walloped Alabama last night, and then Auburn. Don't let that score fool you. they were trailing most of the way against Mississippi State. They needed overtime, and then they win big in overtime. So that score is a little bit misleading.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's very interesting to kind of see this list and how things are shaping out. I know Alabama is really kind of turned it on as of late, and that's going to be a big game for LSU this upcoming weekend. We'll talk about it in just a moment, but Alabama losing there at Texas A&M, that's pretty big. As things start to stack up towards the end of the season, and we're getting close to the conference tournament. So seeding is going to mean everything, and for teams like LSU, Alabama, towards the bottom of the list, it's going to be very important for them to finish out the season strong, to get matches that they want come the SEC tournament time.
And to me, this is going to be one of the biggest SEC tournaments in recent memory, because this is as strong as the SEC has been in quite some time. And they were talking about it last night during the LSU broadcast. I mean, it's going to be a lot like watching the Sweet 16 with some of these teams that are in there, especially when you get to like the quarterfinals and in the semifinals. It's going to be, I mean, any of the top 4 teams, I think, in the SEC have a chance to make a strong run. Maybe you get one of the outsiders. Maybe LSU can make a run if they get the right draw now that they're getting healthy. I know if they're a 7 seed, the 10 seed is not going to want to see them, and then potentially a meeting with the 2 seed, which is why it's so important to win as many games you can win, because if you can get to 5 or 6, especially the 5-6 range, because that allows you to avoid the 1 seed or the 2 seed in the next round. And Spencer, I'm just not so sure that they can do that right now. To me, it's going to take – we're going to look at the schedule in just a minute, but in fact, you can flip on over to that, Devin. As you look at this weekend and where these teams are going, and this is the standings going in after last night, where we all stand. LSU right now tied for 8th in the SEC with an 8-9 record, and they are set to play Alabama on Saturday. Alabama, another team that's kind of going in the wrong direction. To me, Spencer, LSU really needs to win this game to have any kind of chance to move up to either 5 or 6, which to me is a key seed.
Yeah, for sure, man, for sure. Yeah, they need this. It'll be a big test for them, because Alabama's a team that they're kind of up and down. Some nights they play really good, and other nights like that, the most recent loss to A&M, they just stink it up. So yeah, LSU is gonna need to force them into mistakes and be able to come away with that win, because if not, it's gonna be an uphill battle in the tournament, and then if they don't do good in the SEC tournament, they're probably not going to get a good seed in the Big Dance. So it's just, they need that for sure. They need that, or else they're in trouble.
Devin, it seems like forever ago when LSU beat Kentucky at home, and you look at Kentucky and where they sit now, Kentucky's probably a 2 seed. So, I mean, obviously LSU has the potential to make a run in the tournament if they can win a game like they won against Kentucky. We just don't know what we're going to get. And I think LSU is going to end up being one of the most unpredictable teams going in there, and I don't even know how to pick them. I don't know, when you look at a line and where they're going to be seated and all that stuff, I'm not going to know how to bet LSU.
Yeah, you're getting a wild card with LSU because they easily have one of the top and most talented teams in the SEC, but they have really played poorly down the stretch. Just out of character, and just have not really since they had a few mishaps earlier in the season. Things didn't go their way. Will Wade obviously got a few texts in a couple game stretch. The attitude of this team is kind of seemed to change. So I think while they have the most one of the more talented teams and could easily make an upset or two in this tournament, they could easily also be one in and one out. So you're just never going to know what you're going to get from them on a week-to-week basis. And I think for them, it's going to come down to matchups, because obviously they play Kentucky very well, and they play them very closely. So if LSU were to match up with them, you would like their chances in that one. But some of these other teams like Arkansas, they can't seem to close games against them. The 2 times they played Tennessee, they haven't played well. Bama is going to be an interesting matchup for them as well. So it's really going to be about matchups for them and whether or not they're going to be able to get a good enough one to make a deep tournament run.
I think you will learn a lot about this LSU basketball team on Saturday when they play Alabama. Again, Alabama team that's kind of going in the wrong direction. Lose last night to Texas A&M, got walloped really. And so if LSU could come out and have a big performance, look good, get themselves ready for the SEC tournament, I think it can make a huge difference going forward. And again, I think this is a team, if you look at those SC standings that we had just had. You don't have to put it back up, Devin, but you got 4 teams at 13-4 or better, and then you got a bunch in the crowd in the middle. And when it comes to tournament time, teams like Texas A&M, I don't know if they're going to get in or not. Probably not at this point. They're on the bubble. But you look at some of the other teams, I'm not going to want to play any of those teams when you get into the tournament and you're talking about 7, 8, and 9 seeds. They could really give problems to not only their first round matchup, but who knows, that might be one of those upset teams that we're talking about in the tournament, because they're going to be quite a bit of upsets this year. There are every year, but I just have a feeling that this is going to be one of those crazy years, because there's more parity to me in college basketball than there's been in quite a while. And if you look at the NCAA tournament odds right now, you got Gonzaga at the top of the board. But, I mean, who's to think Gonzaga is the cream of the crop? Normally by now you got someone that's like plus 200 or at worst. Maybe you have a plus 175. There's an odds-on favorite. There's really no odds-on favorite. Gonzaga's odds haven't changed much. We look at where they were on February 21st. They're 400 today. Arizona has ticked up just a little bit. Kentucky's about the same. Duke gotten a little bit better, a little bit stronger. That's the team that I want to keep your eye on. And then you look at everybody else, and the odds haven't changed that much. LSU men, you can get them right now at let's see, what is that? 100 to 1. You put $100 down on LSU right now, and LSU wins the national championship, you get $10,000. I don't know if I'm putting $100 of my hard-earned money on that, Devin, but I'll tell you what, it might not be bad to lay $10 on it.
Yeah, I mean, this team could easily come together over the next couple of weeks, and then we're talking about this is the team that we thought they were going to be at the beginning of the season. But also you could just lose $10 because they were one and done SEC tournament,
Right.
then one and done the NCAA tournament as well. So this is going to be an interesting next couple of weeks to watch for LSU, because I think they're not. My gut tells me they're not going to be one and done in the tournament. I think they, go into a tournament and get maybe a win or two in SEC tournament. Say they beat Bama over the weekend, start to gain some momentum. I think it's a team that can maybe make it to the Sweet 16 if they get the right matchups to go their way. But they're just so volatile right now, and putting more than $10 down on them right now to win the national championship, I think, is a bit rich, and we haven't seen them play like that really since the beginning of the season when they beat Kentucky.
At the same time, and I'm not sure who I'd lay my money on. I have Duke at 13-1 is the only team that I put any money on. I did that before the season. Looks like a little bit of a bargain now. Devin, just tell me who on this list, who do you like? What kind of numbers do you like? I still kind of like Auburn at 12-1. You're getting it quite a bargain with them, I think.
Yep. Auburn looks like one of the better bets on this list right now. Just based on that, I know they've had a few slip-ups in SEC play, but they've been a fairly consistent team this year. They're very talented, and with Bruce Pearl at the helm, he's experienced. He's been there before. So you expect Auburn to make at least a Sweet 16, Elite 8 run this year. And once they get there, I mean, they have the athletes to match it with anybody on this list. They're just going to be about, can they continue to build momentum, go make a deep SEC tournament run, and then, able to get past those first couple of matches where they should be favored to win. So I like Auburn on this list to watch as well. Arizona has continued to tick down and down. Seems like every time we do an odds list, Arizona's odds are going down more and more, and that's a testament to what they've been able to do, this season. So I think Auburn is the one to watch. But if you want to go one of those heavy favorites up top, I say Arizona has some pretty good odds before they tick down even more over the next couple of weeks.
Spencer, what about you? Is there anybody on this list that strikes your fancy?
Yeah, I mean, I think, like Devin said, I like Arizona. They're trending in a really good direction, playing some great basketball. Shoot, I'd much rather them over Gonzaga right now. Gonzaga they just don't play a tough enough schedule. I don't think there's any way they win it. And then, I like Auburn there at 12-1. I think that's a solid value. Duke at 11-1, and then there's a bunch more not on this list that I like, is more kind of long shots. Like some of those Big 12 teams, like Kansas, Baylor, Texas Tech could be pretty good plays, as well as some of the Big 10 schools, like Illinois. Maybe even Iowa is a long shot. I mean, they've got it. It's wide open. It's wide open this year. There's a lot of value to be had. I'd maybe do like just put $5, like kind of come up with like 5 teams you like, and just put like $5 or $10 on those 5 teams, and then if one of them wins at all, you'll still make money.
Yeah, not a bad idea. And then before we get off of this list, I think find it interesting, the LSU women, and Zach talked about it a couple of weeks ago. We kind of had the petition to get the LSU women on their odds on there, and Caesar just kind of threw them out there. Okay, we'll give you 40-1. They've been getting better and better and better. They beat Tennessee last week. Their odds don't change. So it just goes to show you, if you want to get some value in this women's tournament, again, a lot of times the number 1 seeds it's a lot different in the women's tournament. More often than not, number 1 seeds win in the women's tournament. But to me, Devin, plopping down $30-40 on the LSU women is not a bad idea, because their odds, once that tournament starts, they're not going to be 40-1, especially if they make a run and they play South Carolina in the SC championship game and they play them tight or whatever. I can tell you their odds are probably going to go down to like 15 or 18. And so I think, to me, that's a great value if you're looking at a women's tournament.
Yeah, I mean, they're one, and I think they're probably going to end up as a number 2 seed more than likely. They're one of the number 2 seeds that could win it all, because, they won't have to face someone as good as South Carolina until Elite 8, Final 4 area. So, I mean, they could run through the NCAA tournament, and all of a sudden they're playing some of their best basketball late here in the tournament. Then all of a sudden you have a rematch against the South Carolina or one of the other top teams in women's college basketball. Then, you're going to have, great value out of them if you put some money down 40-1 and they're able to make it to the Final Four national championship. I mean, Kim Mulkey's been there, and she has this team playing better than we've seen in recent history. So I would not count them out in the women's national championship race.
Mike Smith says Duke could win the national championship. And Mike, I hope you're right. Like I said, I got a 13-1 ticket on them way back when, one of my first trip to Harrah's back in December, I guess. My first trip to the sports book. I hope you're right, Mike. Go Duke. I'm a big Blue Devils fan. Make it a Hollywood script ending for Coach K. All right, let's move on. And I want to talk about the Pelicans, because they are quietly playing their best basketball of the season, I think. And if you look at where they are, Devin, I mean, a big win last night against Sacramento. And now their odds, they've been cut in half. They were, let's see, what is that, 1,000-1 not that long ago, just a few weeks ago. And now they're 500-1. Now, we know they're not going to win the title, okay? That's okay. But what I'm saying is, if you look at what the odds makers and the lines makers think of them and what they've been able to do, and as CJ McCollum becomes more and more acclimated to this team, his work with BI has been outstanding. And I just find it interesting listening to stories about how those two are starting to gel. And, it is phenomenal to me that he has just come on and just kind of embraced this team.
Yeah, it's been tremendous to see how he's embraced his team, how he's embraced the city of New Orleans, and has come in and fit right into what the Pelicans, are doing on the basketball court. And he brought much needed scoring. We talked about it when the move was first made. He brought much needed scoring and much needed another much needed voice and veteran. I mean, he's the president of the Players Basketball Association. He's very involved in the player side of things. So he understands the grind and what it takes to win, as well as, obviously playing in Portland for a number of years, and him and Damian Lillard starting together. These bring that same type of energy to New Orleans, and it's rubbing off. It's allowing other guys to be more role players. That he's kind of filling that void that the Pelicans were missing with Zion Williamson, where we knew that Brandon Ingram was going to be the main guy along with Zion, but he needed a co-star, and CJ McCollum's fit right in and has this team playing really well.
And it really, Spencer, if you look at this Pelicans team, I think all the guards are playing really well. And to me, though, the unsung hero since CJ McCollum has come on board is, I don't know if it's just him or if he's just grown up, but Jackson Hayes has been a completely different player ever since CJ McCollum has come on board. And he's playing with a lot of confidence right now.
Yeah, for sure. He's kind of stepped up into that power forward role in place of Zion. They've been playing a big lineup with McCollum basically being the point guard. And yeah, it's done well. It's done really well. Jonas has still done well at the five, and they managed to spread it out pretty good. At first, BI wasn't scoring quite as much, but now him and McCollum seem to be balancing that out pretty good, where they're both getting there. So yeah, it's looking nice. I mean, what's really telling is that it looks like Zion's back fired up, like trying to get back. From the rehab reports are looking a little more positive. He had something. I'll try not to look too much at Twitter, but he had retweeted something about the Pels winning and stuff. So I think he's hopefully getting back on board to where he might be ready to go by the time the last month and playing tournament rolls around.
No doubt. And one thing I think that's interesting is if you look at the Pels last night, Jonas Valanciunas, I mean, I love the guy, but was it just me, Devin, or did he look like he was getting a little bit tired there at the end of the game? I mean, I'm not so, I had him at plus 18.5. He got to 17, and he took that last shot, was an air ball from 6 feet, a hook shot. And I'm like, I don't think he's going to get another shot because it was 7 minutes left. You could tell they were going to take him out. They got a 20-point lead. I'm like, it's probably not going to hit. But he couldn't make it to the end of the game. That worries me a little bit.
Yeah, I think they're going to have to start dialing back his minutes a little bit, I think. And with them playing well and some of their younger players playing well too, I think you're going to see a more, I think, concerted effort to think about, okay, this team looks good enough to make the play-in tournament, so maybe we need to think about conserving some minutes here and there on some of these games, especially if they get out of hand either for them or against them. I think they're going to start getting that mindset. Now they're not just a young team that's just trying to win games. They're a young team trying to make the playoffs and really become a serious contender. So I think the mindset change has obviously I think early on they wanted to get CJ involved and get him going and making sure that he's comfortable. But now that he's kind of gotten comfortable and Brandon Ingram now can play off of him, I think you're going to see more Brandon Ingram taking the lead and him playing in more spots throughout the first half of games so he could finish the second half game strong.
Spence, just a month and a half left in the season. You look forward. Really, I think the Pels it's probably more likely than not they'll make at least the play-in now. I think 8's a little too far out of reach. I don't think they're going to get that far. They're about 4 games behind the 8 spot, but they certainly could catch the Lakers. I mean, the Lakers are in a free fall right now, and even getting to 9, if you get to 9 with this team and the way they've been playing, I'll tell you what, they could create some problems for some teams if they get in the play-in game, and who knows what happens after that.
Yeah, most definitely, because the 7 and 8 seeds aren't too strong, in my opinion. Minnesota's talented, but they're young. I mean, they don't really have much postseason experience. They could easily get knocked out. And then the Clippers, if they don't get their stars back, Kawhi Leonard and Paul George, I mean, there's only so much you can do with a cast of role players like they've got now. They've exceeded expectations. They play hard under Ty Lue, but, I mean, they're starting to kind of run out of gas. And if the Pels, like I said, could somehow get Zion back, then it's a whole new ball game at that point. I'll go on the record. I'll say this. If the Pels can get Zion back, they'll make it out of the play-in tournament and get a top 8 seed.
I think there's a good chance. Mike Smith got another prediction for us. Golden State and Philly in the championship final. Who can argue with that? You looked at James Harden last night, his first game in Philly, and scored 19 points in the first half, kind of limped to 26 to finish it off, but who cares? I mean, they look like a different team. They could certainly win it all. That's going to be an interesting team to watch. I still like the Suns, though. It's hard. I know they went through a little slump, Devin, before we move on to golf, but I just think that if you look at their odds, and I know they haven't changed, and they went through a little slump. They're without Chris Paul, who's going to come back for the playoffs. They're going to be just fine. I still think not only is this the best team in the West, I still think Phoenix is the best team in basketball.
Yeah, it was impressive to watch the Pelicans beat them over the weekend and see what they were able to do against a team that was just in the NBA Finals. But really outside of that, they're still a really solidly built team. They have a great coach, and Devin Booker is still doing his thing. And when they get Chris Paul back, obviously things are going to change, and I think they're going to continue to expand their lead at the top of the West. But I think for now, and obviously they have a 7-game lead over Golden State. I think they have a chance to still get to 60 wins and be comfortably that 1 seed. And I think for them, it's going to be about getting Chris Paul back towards the end of the season and getting themselves playing well. And while we're on the topic of this, Kevin Durant also returns tonight for the Nets. So
Yep.
obviously the odds makers feel pretty good about the Nets still, even though he will just be returned from injury after missing a few months. But I think that's also something to note for the Eastern Conference, which I think is still a little bit more wide open. Milwaukee isn't playing as consistent as you want basketball-wise. Obviously, Philly and James Harden and Joel Embiid have played really well to start off their duo together, but I think things will kind of get back to normal in a few weeks, and Philly will still be pretty good. But I think right now they're playing off of the juice of having James Harden there.
Watch out for the Heat. They're playing good basketball. I'm telling you right now, that's not going to be a team that anybody wants to play. When you get in the tournament, I think they could create havoc for all those teams that everybody's talking about. And you kind of went into last year, and not a ton of people were talking about the Bucks, and the Bucks did their thing. So watch out for the Miami Heat. I am looking forward to that. Okay, we only have about 10 or 15 minutes left in the show, and I do want to spend some time with best bets. So let's get into golf and auto racing. First, we're going to start with golf. And I typed this up. It's my head to drive to Lafayette, so I did not get any of the afternoon odds. This is before this. These are odds as of about 12:30 this afternoon. And I know John Rahm had a couple bad holes, so I'm sure his odds slipped a little bit. But you look at Rory McIlroy, who shot 7 under at the Arnold Palmer Invitational this morning. He'll play tomorrow afternoon. To me, Sung J M and Chris Kirk are the best values on the board. Those are two guys that Uncle Big Nick liked going into the weekend. Chris Kirk has been playing outstanding golf. Sung J M missed the cut last week, but I'll tell you what, watch out for him as we go forward. You guys got anything on this golf tournament? I love playing live odds in golf. Now, I picked my long shots, and I got a couple guys on this list. I did not touch Victor Hovland, who I think could have a good weekend. Uncle Big Nick says Rahm stinks. We'll just leave it at that. But that's because he bet on him this week, and he finally tanked him. So that's what happened there. But Will Zalatoris, Chris Kirk, Sung J M, all those guys might get a little value out of that.
The McIlroy. I'm glad he's doing good. I have him in my DFS golf lineup that I picked before the tournament started. So good to see him playing good. And Uncle Big Nick actually had a little chink in his armor. He had been invincible there for a while.
He finally, Uncle Big Nick, he went 5 weeks in a row, had the outright winner. Rahm is killing his fantasy lineup.
Yeah,
5 weeks in a row.
McIlroy is doing good.
Yeah, 5 weeks in a row. He finally missed last week. Hey, we can't hit him all every week. I think Uncle Big Nick is paying off his mortgage with his golf winnings. All right, now golf is probably my specialty among you three, but I know both of you guys love auto racing. I know nothing about auto racing, but I know that the NASCAR Pennzoil 400 is this weekend. Spencer, I'm gonna let you take the lead here. Any of these guys that we ought to be looking out for?
Yeah, they have a lot of guys on this board that are capable of getting the W, which is what these odds are, And so I'm thinking, I don't. It's a lot of times I stay away from the overall favorite, but this is a week that I'd be okay with picking Kyle Larson. He's just dominant, man. He's just been so good compared to the rest of the field, and at 3.5 to 1, he actually offers some value there because barring a flat tire or a wreck, he should be out front once again, but he will have some competition from his teammate Chase Elliott. Larson won last week, but in the process, he ruffled feathers with Elliott. They got together racing for the lead, and as a result, Elliott spun out and crashed, and Larson got the win. So Chase was not happy about that. So I would expect him to be up there too. And if it comes down to it, I think he put the bumper to Larson after what happened last week. And then a couple others to keep an eye on. Denny Hamlin on here last year at 8 to 1. I like him. He's had a rough start to the year. I think this will be a great race for him to bounce back. And then Martin Truex Jr. down there at 14 to 1, I feel might be the best value on this board because he's a guy that does very well at these kind of tracks, these intermediate 1.5 mile type tracks. at 14-1, I think people are the odds makers panicking a little bit about that he didn't do too good last week, but I'm thinking they'll be able to. I wouldn't let that one race scare me. I think Truex will still be among the leaders.
Now, we're not going to let any teammates be broken up here at bet.nola.com. That would never happen here on At the Book. So, and Devin, I know that you're from an area, you're from the hotbed of auto racing, so you know a little bit about auto racing. Tell me a little bit about what you think about this list.
Yeah, so just watching the race, I actually put a few dollars down on William Byron last week, and obviously he crashed out and didn't finish, but he was pushing Kyle Larson, through the second stage and the early stages of the third stage last weekend. So I will put a little money down on him again this week. I think he showed he has a pretty fast race car and can handle some being towards the front of the list or front of the lanes. But I worry a little bit about his car since it broke down on him and he got involved in one of the crashes, one of the several crashes they had last week. But I watch out for William Byron, Ryan Blaney too as well. Kind of climbed up throughout the race last week and finished, I believe, top 10 as well. So there's a few guys I will watch. Chase Elliott, obviously, too, because, what happened between him and Kyle Larson. But also he came from, I think, 22nd or 23rd during the race and was creeping up into the top 5 before he crashed with Kyle Larson. So I think those are a couple names to watch on this list.
All right, I'm gonna trust you guys on this one, and who knows, I might throw a dollar down or two here or there, depending on what Spencer's best bets are. I might have to pick his brain, see what you guys like. I'll put $10 here on it. I'll put $10 down on just about anything. All right. Speaking of putting $10 down on stuff, how about our best bets? We have been rolling. We've been on fire as of late. When I went on vacation, we were kind of a little cold streak. Maybe I should go on vacation more often because we've been hitting. So, I mean, if you look at this list, we only lost 3 of them, and they were all small ones. We've been hitting all of the big ones. Raptors on Monday, North Carolina on Monday. We hit the big one. Mavs over Lakers on Tuesday. Boy, that little nervous there for a little while. Yeah, that made us nervous. Yeah. Lakers made a big comeback, and then last night on my comeback, I had Pelicans over to the Kings. I just thought the Pels were look at their schedule coming up. I really liked the Pelicans last night because when they have to win over the last couple months, they've been pretty good about not necessarily looking ahead, but they've been able to know, hey, we got to get this one because we got some tough cookies coming in over the next 3 or 4 games. They rolled last night. I really like where they're at. We talked about that. But Spencer, you've been rolling as well. Nice job with your best bets.
Thanks, man. Yeah, I've been doing pretty good. I got a little greedy with the parlay, the college basketball parlay. If I'd have just stuck with Arizona, I'd have won that one too. So, yeah, it's been a good run for sure. And yeah, got some more for y'all today.
All right. Well, Louisville got rolled a little bit. We look at today's best bets. Hey, like I said, we have been really good with the big one. And so there you go. Nets plus 3.5. Devin, is KD back tonight?
Yeah, he is. I saw that he's going to be back and playing tonight for the Nets, and that's going to give him a big boost, big emotional boost, and they definitely needed him back on the court. They have struggled really since before the All-Star break and even coming out of All-Star break, and they have to find a way to stop the bleeding, and I think getting KD back tonight will definitely help them out.
Then our second bet, we got Illinois minus 12.5 over Penn State. Penn State has not been playing very well. I think they lost by like 30 Monday night. So I like this bet as well. Spencer, what led you to pick the Fighting Illini?
Yeah, I just saw the way that the teams have been trending. The Fighting Illini are doing well here heading into March. I think they're a team that's poised to make a deep run in the tournament, and they'll be able to cruise past Penn State here. I feel like they've got a pretty high-powered offense, and Penn State been struggling to generate offense. So I think this one could get up to 20 plus. So I feel like the 12.5 is a fair line. If anything, it's good value. It's why it's on the list. We always look for value. And then the Nets line, just to point out, the Nets line's moved a lot. So I hope y'all saw this morning and got that in this morning, because now the Nets, I think, are actually favored by a point.
Wow. That is a big change. All right. So, well, if you saw it and you made the bet, then you got a great value. If you didn't see it, you're going to have a decision to make. So, Again, with KD coming back, that's probably what made the big change. You know, I don't know how we're going to make it the next 3 weeks. You know, Zach's going to be eating fish and chips and some kind of sausages and have beers, but we got crawfish here. We got our own beer. We'll do all right, Devin. What do you think?
Yeah, we'll do just fine. Tell you what, we still got the hangover from Mardi Gras, so I think we'll be just fine over the next few weeks.
Yeah, my legs have just come back to normal after Saturday's Endymion ride. It was maybe I'll give you some video to show from clean video. I promise, clean video to show from some goings on last Saturday night. It was wild. But that's just going to wrap it up on the show. Before we go, we do want to give another shout out to Caesar Sportsbook, where Devin is at. Again, go through bet.nola.com, bet $20, get $300 using our code NOLA300. And I'm hearing that Caesar's also going to have a new promotion coming out in about a week or so. So make sure you stick to bet.nola.com. We'll be talking about that here on the Bayou Bet Show coming up on Monday. And again, next week on At the Book. So I got to say, I forgot. One final thought. Devin Jackson, you go first. What's your thought of this weekend?
Make those final bets for college basketball. We're about to get into the big time, and we showed you some of the NCAA tournament odds. You might want to start getting on teams like Auburn and Arizona and big teams like that before those odds start to shrink a little bit, especially if they make deep runs in their conference tournament and end up winning their conference tournament. So get those future bets in before the big dance starts, and hopefully we'll all cash in some money by the end of it.
Spencer, what you got?
Yeah, I'm with Devin on that. I already have a few futures out there at Duke, Auburn, Iowa. I'm thinking about adding a couple more, probably Arizona, maybe Illinois. So yeah, definitely get those in. And then in the LSU women at 40-1, that's going to change soon. So if y'all want to get that in, go ahead. And then for NASCAR this weekend, I recommend, like I said with the basketball, like spreading it out, like bet on multiple drivers. Like don't bet everything on one driver. Spread it out. Pick like 5 or 6 drivers you like and put a little bit on each one. Because if one of them wins, you'll still make money. So I would recommend that rather than just going all in with one guy, because it's just with 40 drivers in the field, it's hard because you never know if a car could. I mean, Kyle Larson might be dominating, but if he has a tire go flat on him, he won't win. So just keep that in mind, I think.
We will do. And for me, I'm looking forward to getting back into the swing of things. It's been slow going since I came back yesterday. I'm trying to get into it. First Attitude in 2 weeks will be out tomorrow morning. We're going to keep it a surprise on who our guest is going to be. You know why? Because I don't even know yet. It's going to be a surprise for me, too. We will talk about the Saints. We'll talk about the Pelicans. We will talk about LSU basketball. We'll probably talk a little bit about LSU baseball tomorrow on Datitude episode number 58. If you want to go back and catch any of the old episodes we have, including episode 57, we had Ricky Jackson on, Saints Hall of Famer. You can go back and check that out wherever you get your podcast. Search for Datitude, or also go onto our hub on SoundCloud, and we post it every Datitude here on bet.nola.com. That is going to wrap up our show here today on At the Book. We will see you Monday for Bayou Bets. For Devin Jackson, for Spencer Urquhart, and for our friend Zach Ewing is across the pond, I'm Jim Derry. We will see you Monday. Goodbye, everybody.